we're talking about Farmington, New Mexico, and the shit that's starting to go down here. But it's just like every New Mexico town. If you are the FBI doing investigations and actively, that's what I'm saying. Like, I had no idea how bad New Mexico was till I got here, and it's like, why are the cops trying to arrest me for no reason? And they're like, they're not trying to arrest you for no reason. They're trying to traffic you because they're corrupt. And I'm like, oh shit. And I told them where I was at. I told them what I was doing. They're like, yeah, we're going to have to, protect you in some way because, yeah, these law enforcement are going to try to keep try to throw me in jail, which is just a tactic used to traffic you. Right. So it's just they make up stories to try to attack you and watch you and then start the trafficking or the sexual advances. So police will start to like become sexual towards me to try to traffic with them and their friends. So that's what the FBI says. Well, they do it everywhere. They've already done it in several different areas where the cops get arrested by the FBI, but only in New Mexico. So I just didn't know how bad it was. So I'm like, why are they? So the suicide rate here in law enforcement is also nationwide. The FBI report says mostly in Arizona and New Mexico, the suicide rate for law enforcement. So when you arrive to some new place in New Mexico and then you start noticing some weird fuck shit with the law enforcement and then you go talk to the FBI, you're gonna be shocked. Yeah, because, well, the thing is I never had any perspective of New Mexico. I just showed up here and that's it. And then the cops tried to traffic me. So I was like, it was obvious. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I was living in New Mexico for years. I've never even been here, really. I drove through many years ago. Right. So I get here and the FBI says they're possibly trying to traffic you because that's what they do in the other cities that they've seen. Correct? Yeah, so it repeats and repeats and repeats. They're also suicidal, though, when you read the FBI report on, cops' sociopathic mental disorders, narcissistic traits, okay? Where they just have to watch people abuse and love to hurt people for no motives but ego motive. So it's ego motive mental illness. Right, there's no conscience mind or a God holding them accountable. That's why they're trying to traffic me, and they're making it like really obvious, though. The attacks and the sexual advances and like just trying to make me into a prostitute when I have several college degrees and I have several different forms of income and I work really hard and I have several things that I do. Like, I'm like, wow, okay. They look stupid as fuck. But what I'm saying is that because of this, they should become suicidal, specifically in the Farmington, New Mexico area. Correct? So if the data adds up for the FBI in every single area in New Mexico, then that means I should get a high number of suicides also in the Farmington area. Suddenly, probably the FBI should report in 2 years the data. The increase of law enforcement suicide data specifically out of Farmington. So Farmington, New Mexico has to report their police suicides to the FBI. The FBI made it a law 2 or 3 years ago or 5 years ago. I don't know when it was. That information, you guys, all this stuff I'm telling you about the FBI is public information. They had to come out to the public and say, we have mental disorders in cops. They're just fucking doing whatever the fuck they want. To children, women, companies, organizations, families, no motives, gang affiliations. Yes, the cops are like, apparently, I had to learn this, New Mexico's the worst state in the United States for this type of activity. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it got, like, sprung on me. You know what I mean? Like, it just, like, got, it was a revelation to me or something. You see what I'm saying? It's an epiphany to me that the FBI had all the data already, but I saw it first. So I'm like, what is up? Are they like, I had to do the research because something was wrong in Farmington with the cops. They were like becoming deranged around me. Like they were trying to get me to commit a crime, or they want me to be a criminal, or they want me to think I'm a criminal, or I'm probably one of the wealthiest females in the tri-state area. Yes. I'm like a millionaire, and they're like, you're a criminal. No, I'm a fucking millionaire. Right. And they're attacking millionaires, but that's something cartel do. That's something that gang members do. That's something that crooked cops do. They try to rob you. They set you up to rob you. Yes. It's a mental disorder, but also it just looks like, corruption and things like that and fraud. But what I'm saying is, where's the suicides? Because the FBI is reporting, yeah, it's the same tactic they always use. We'll send a couple people up there, provide protection. But where's the suicides that the FBI reported? Because that's where I'm going at with this specific video. So I want the information, I want the data, at least next year, of Farmington law enforcement, all law enforcement, state troopers, police, anybody that's working in the state parks or anything, all those people, police, everybody, city, state, county. I want to see how many of them kill themselves, because if what's happening around me is happening in other areas and the cops, commit suicide, then it has to be happening in Farmington, New Mexico. You're not separated from Albuquerque or Santa Fe or where the FBI's at right now. You're not separated, Farmington. No, you're just as ugly as, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's how I'm putting it, because if the FBI is saying all this stuff about these other areas in New Mexico and Zorro's Ranch, and I'm like, okay, all right, everyone just calm down. Right, I'm like, what the fuck? You think Farmington's just excluded from the fuck faces? The rest of the corruption? No, you're all bundled up together. So we should see the suicide here, and I need or want the FBI to report, or U.S. Marshals or somebody, or even the city officials of Farmington. You're going to have to report your mental illness developments in your law enforcement. You have to report the mental illness that you have to the public, so we know that you're mentally ill running around with a badge and a gun. Yeah, well, the FBI is going to have to report it because you're like attacking and trying to prostitute me out. And I'm like, what? Why are they doing this to me? Because you're a wealthy person, and this is kind of like cartelish. And I never knew that. Like, I have to discover all this shit's all new to me. I have to write everything down. Right, so it's a new thing for me. But the FBI already has all the data. And I'm just validating. It's like I call the FBI like, hi, I'm here to validate, pretty much everything you've already said that I didn't even know that you said. Yes. Yeah. So it's been interesting for me. I have to run another operation, Farmington, New Mexico. I'm going to run an investigation, a different one. So we're going to do something else for another year. Right, we saw the attack. We saw what they're trying to do. We know that I'm like some type of target for them to abuse or throw in jail. It's very aware to several groups of people inside Farmington, New Mexico. They made it so obvious of how mentally ill and dysfunctional that they are that everybody else just noticed it, because I noticed it. Like, you would have to be mentally retarded not to notice how dysfunctional your law enforcement is. And I'm just expecting what the FBI said already, that you're going to commit suicide because of your dysfunction. You're operating like emotional elementary. So you're in a man's body or a woman's body, whatever you do for police or sheriff, but you operate emotionally at an elementary school. So you're all at an elementary school emotionally. So I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying your emotional ego levels, elementary. Right? You haven't figured out who you are yet. You're in elementary school. You don't know what you're going to be when you grow up. Yeah, it's kind of what it's like. And they will become suicidal, apparently, according to the FBI report. Yeah, and that's why I'm making this video. To get the data. Right? I want the information. I still want this information. And I want the information for the next 2 years. I'm always going to want the information for the rest of my life out of New Mexico, the suicide rate in law enforcement. I even called the state. I had to call the State Department, and I'm like, hey, give me numbers. And they're like, our numbers don't come out till July. Or August. Yeah, their numbers don't come out. So the state of New Mexico has to report suicide. And they don't even report for 2022 until June or July, the State Department reported to me. Yeah. I had to go through a bunch of hoops, call a bunch of hospitals, a bunch of shit to get that information. Right. I remember that. It was like a couple months ago. But that's just some more information for you guys. So the FBI doesn't report every year. The states do. They're required to, but the FBI has to do. They are not doing annual reports on the data on law enforcement. They only reported it. Like, I can't find an updated report. The report I'm pulling is 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, the FBI said your cops are mentally ill, sociopath. So did it get better or worse from the FBI report 5 years ago? Yeah. What do you think? It improved? Fuck no. Oh, fucking hell no, motherfuckers. They're making it obvious. They're just like so going out of their way to attack me. I don't even fucking know them. Never met them, but they all know my name and research my life. Yeah, sociopathic mental disorders, but obvious in large groups of mentally disordered levels of narcissism. It's like they have different echelons of narcissistic disorders. And well, this is FBI. They just deemed it sociopath. So you'd have to research, what a sociopath is and all this stuff, and then go down that rabbit hole too. Yeah, it's just like, it's a lot of stuff to take in, and I just have to write everything down and do my best to, make this video and speak and everything, get everything out, and make sure that you guys are warned, and don't trust the cops, and the FBI's here, the State Department's here. There is something going on in New Mexico, obviously. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole of Zorro's Ranch. Yeah, there's like a shit ton of pedophilia here. And then the Navajo, yeah, that's just, so now I'm going to get into the pedophilia and the law enforcement. Yeah, well, the FBI already did. They already have an old case file of 30 cops going to prison and all this other shit. Yeah, so I can go off of that. And then we have the Flagstaff, trafficking cases in law enforcement. So the cops are trafficking children, like 5-year-olds. Yeah. They'll just fuck a 5-year-old and just be like, I never did anything wrong, and walk around with a badge and a gun. Mexicans. They look like a bunch of fat Mexicans on the lineup. When I saw the lineup, I'm like, it's fat Mexican trash. They look like Mexican cartel. Yeah, they act like it. They look like it. They walk like it. They talk like it. So they must be it. Looks like a duck. Walks like a duck. Must be a duck. Right. It's a fucking elephant in the room scenario or some shit. So I'm expecting the suicides to come with all this shit, just like the FBI said. The FBI's not wrong. I trust you and your data, DIA. I do. I don't like you. I don't want to work with you. I think you're narcissistic like everybody else. I don't care. I want the data. I don't care who you are, what color your skin, your religion. I want the information. For my whole life. I'll leave New Mexico and I'll be in Montana living in a cabin, and I'll still be researching the suicides in law enforcement in New Mexico for all my whole life until the information's of it. Yeah, because it's so interesting to me how I ran into them actively trying to traffic me, thinking I'm like a dumb retard bitch or something. I have more college education than any of their people combined. Yes. The police are not more educated. There is not one employed police officer that has as many college degrees as I do and went and worked for the government as much as I did. Yeah. So they just think I'm some dumb bitch that they want to fuck. But I'm actually I've been a government official my whole life, longer than you have, in the federal government, Department of Defense branch. And they just treated me like a whore. Yeah. And tried to throw me in jail and steal my money. So we're going to stay here, launch an investigation. I'm going to pull some resources from my aviation industry out of Colorado Springs. And the cops are going to get exposed, and we're expecting them to commit suicide in the Farmington, New Mexico area, just like the FBI has reported already.